Welcome to Beit Yisrael International's Voice of Torah podcast. I'm Gaddi Efrayim, and it's an honor to guide you through today's profound exploration of Parashat Toldot, drawing from the sages' timeless wisdom. Today we'll focus on two pivotal themes from this week's parsha: the significance of the missing vavs in the word Toldot generations, the powerful contrast between Jacob's voice and Esau's hands. Let's dive in. The missing vavs in Toldot. The word Toldot appears fully spelled with two vavs in only two places in the Torah: in the context of the heavens and the earth's creation, and in the lineage of Perez, ancestor of King David and the Messianic line. However, in other places, such as the genealogies of Isaac and Ishmael, Toldot is written defectively, missing one or even two vavs. The sages teach that these missing vavs symbolize the fractures in creation brought about by human sin, disrupting the harmony between heaven and earth. The full spelling reappears in the lineage of Perez, signifying the eventual restoration of divine order and ultimate redemption through the Messiah. Jacob's voice and Esau's hands. In this week's parsha, we encounter a defining moment when Jacob, disguised as Esau, receives the blessing from Isaac. Isaac remarks on the striking contrast between the voice and the hands, highlighting a profound tension between spiritual identity and external appearances. This statement reflects the dual roles of these two brothers and their descendants. Jacob's represents prayer, Torah, and spirituality, the inner essence of the Jewish people. Esau's hands symbolize physical might, materialism, and engagement with the external world. The sages see this as an eternal tension between spiritual refinement and worldly power. The mission of Jacob's descendants is to elevate the physical world, infusing it with holiness through prayer, Torah, and righteous deeds. Connecting the theme is the missing vavs in Toldot remind us of humanity's ongoing mission to repair the fractures in creation, Tikkun Olam, and restore the divine connection between heaven and earth. Jacob's voice is the key to achieving this mission, serving as a spiritual bridge that brings divine light into the material world, paving the way for redemption. Beit Yisrael International's mission. At Beit Yisrael International, we are dedicated to fulfilling this heavenly mission through Shema Ezra prayers during weekdays and meditative Torah studies. Our Torah studies go beyond the surface, exploring the sacred texts on multiple levels: literal, allegorical, mystical, and beyond. By delving into these profound teachings, we aim to unlock deeper spiritual insights and apply them to elevate our lives and the lives of others. Bringing the light of Torah to the world and revealing the true light of Mashiach, Beit Yisrael International is devoted to spreading the light of Torah and revealing the true light of Mashiach through the weekly parsha in over 70 global languages. Leveraging advanced technology, including Google Translate, we make these teachings accessible to all nations. Our work is grounded in the principles of worshiping the Creator, adhering to Torah and Jewish halakha, avoiding idolatry, avodah zarah, and walking in the path of the Tzaddikim. Through our efforts, we strive to prepare for the coming of Mashiach ben David and the ultimate Jewish redemption. Thank you for joining us today on Beit Yisrael International's Voice of Torah podcast. Let's carry the lessons of Toldot forward, using Jacob's voice to guide our prayers, studies, and actions as we bring divine light into the world. May we all be inspired to embrace our spiritual mission and contribute to the ultimate redemption. Be blessed, and may the voice of Jacob inspire and elevate us all. Thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at some really fascinating symbolism in the Torah, and we're going to be focusing on just two elements.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just two. We got the letter Vav, and we're going to be looking at the word Toldot. And I think you're going to be surprised at how much we can unpack from these two little building blocks, with some insights from the sages and from the organization Beit Yisrael International.
Yeah, it really is amazing. The more closely we examine the Torah, the more layers of meaning we find.
Absolutely. So let's start with the Vav. Now, obviously, we all know it's a letter in the Hebrew alphabet, but it represents something much more. It often symbolizes connection, and you see this right at the beginning of the Torah in Genesis 1:1. Where the Vav connects, it links heavens and earth.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about that connection is that it actually points to a core concept in Jewish thought, which is the union of the spiritual and the physical realms. They're not seen as these separate entities, but rather these intertwined aspects of existence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like what happens in one impacts the other.
Precisely.
Kind of like as above, so below, what happens in the spiritual realm impacts the physical realm.
Exactly. And that idea of interconnectedness is beautifully represented by this this letter that acts as a bridge between those two realms.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's bring in the word Toldot. Now, we all know Toldot means generations, but it's the spelling that's particularly interesting here. At the very beginning of the Torah, Toldot is written with 2 vavs.
That's right. And Rashi, the renowned commentator, has a very intriguing interpretation of this double vav.
Okay.
He sees it as representing creation in its purest form. It's this state of perfect harmony and interconnectedness before the introduction of, free will and the potential for disharmony.
So like that double vav is showing us creation in its ideal state.
Exactly.
Okay. But then, as we move through the Torah, something interesting happens. We see that the spelling of Toldot changes, and it starts appearing with one or even both vavs missing.
Yeah, and that's not a coincidence. The sages actually understood these variations in the spelling as signals, indicating this shift away from that initial state of perfection. It's like, there's a crack in the foundation.
Okay, so there's a disruption, a change in the ideal.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm thinking about, the instance of Adam's Toldot, which is written with just one vav after the sin.
Right.
And it seems to really highlight that loss of perfection that break in the connection that existed before.
Yeah, and Kliyakar, in his commentary on this, is really insightful. He points out that the missing vav represents a kind of diminishment. Like it's a step away from that complete harmony that was originally intended.
So it's not even like a full-on break. It's like it's getting worse.
Right. It's like a gradual decline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it doesn't stop there, right? Like it seems like the vav situation gets even more complicated as we move through the generations.
You're absolutely right. When we get to like the Toldot of Yitzhak and Yishmael, the spelling becomes even more how do we say it, defective. It's as if the initial disharmony is kind of rippling outward, impacting the subsequent generations.
So how does all this ancient wisdom relate to us today? I mean, how can we connect this to our lives?
Well, I think, organizations like Beit Yisrael International, following the teachings of Gaddi Efrayim, they've been exploring these ideas in the context of, contemporary spiritual practice. Oh. And really what it comes down to is recognizing that even the seemingly smallest details in the Torah can hold, incredible meaning. These details aren't arbitrary. They're actually offering us insights into the divine plan.
So it's like the Torah is really, it's like a blueprint, and these are signals or clues.
Yeah, it's like a whole new way of reading the Torah, paying attention to those nuances, the subtle shifts.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, right?
It does. If the spelling of Toldot can change to reflect, different states of the world, what other hidden messages are we missing? What other layers of meaning are waiting to be uncovered if we only know how to look?
That's a great point. It's a really thought-provoking question to uncover those amazing insights that I know you're going to bring to us.
Oh, we're going to have some fun with this word.
So basically what we're going to be looking at is how the spelling of Toldot and specifically
the presence or absence
of one letter,
one specific letter,
can unlock like all these layers of meaning about spiritual legacy.
Exactly.
So tell me more. What's so important about this one letter?
Well, the letter we're talking about is the vav. And in
Damn.
Kabbalistic thought.
Oh, here we go.
Now we're talking.
I love it.
The vav represents connection.
Connection.
Like a bridge between different realms,
Okay.
So when we find Toldot,
Yeah.
but it's missing that vav,
Uh-oh.
the Midrash steps in and says, hold on a second. This might mean something deeper is going on here.
Incomplete, right.
Yeah, a little bit of spiritual incompleteness, a little bit of a distance maybe from the divine.
So let's start at the very beginning then.
Okay.
When the Torah first uses the word Toldot,
Right.
it's talking about Adam.
It is.
And guess what?
Well,
no vav.
No vav. It's missing.
So what's the Midrash saying about Adam's, spiritual legacy here?
Well, the Midrash connects this incomplete Toldot to the sin, the first sin that enters the world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's not just about, a family tree.
Right.
It's about spiritual inheritance.
Okay.
And maybe how that inheritance got, a little bit messed up.
It's like a broken chain.
Yeah, like a break in the chain.
like that missing vav,
Exactly.
shows that that perfect connection that was there in the beginning is now broken.
Yeah, that perfect connection to the divine.
Right, right.
It's not there in the same way anymore.
So fascinating.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about Adam.
Yeah.
Now I want to move on
No
to
problem.
Isaac,
Let's talk about Isaac.
because here things get a little
They do get a little more complicated.
more complicated.
Yeah,
Because, just to remind everyone, Isaac has two sons,
he does.
Jacob and Esau,
That's right.
who represent very different.
Very different paths
Yeah,
in life.
exactly.
Like spiritually
All right.
and materially.
So Jacob's the one who ultimately inherits that spiritual legacy, right?
Right.
Whereas Esau is more associated with the material world.
Exactly.
Okay, so when we come to Isaac's Toldot,
Yeah.
what happens to the vav?
Well, this time, the vav is actually there.
It is.
It is there.
Okay.
But the midrash picks up on...
It's not so simple, right?
No, it's not so simple.
It's not in the right place or something.
Well, according to some interpretations,
Okay.
its placement is a little, I don't know, conspicuous.
Interesting.
And it hints at
Oh.
this tension between the two legacies.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, the spiritual and the
that's
material constantly kind of vying for dominance.
See, this is what I love about the Midrash.
Yeah,
It's so rich with symbolism,
it is.
and it just like brings these deeper meanings to life.
It does.
And this idea of competing legacies
Yes.
within a family.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, absolutely.
know I can.
Yeah.
That feeling of being pulled between different parts of your heritage.
Yeah, different values from different parts of your family.
Different values, different aspirations.
Yeah, different ideas about what success looks like.
Passed down from previous generations.
Exactly. And the Midrash,
Yeah.
it's using this word Toldot
Right.
and the spelling of it to actually explore these really
Universal.
universal internal struggles.
Yeah, on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, so we've covered Adam. We've talked about Isaac.
Yes.
Now, what about Ishmael?
Ah, Ishmael.
Because his Toldot is particularly interesting.
It is. It's very striking.
Because there are two vavs missing.
Two vavs missing.
I mean, that seems like a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So what's going on there? What's the Midrash saying?
Well, some interpretations suggest that this
The civil absence
civil abscess, yeah.
points to an even greater spiritual distance.
Oh, even more of a disconnect.
But it's important to remember
Oh, absolutely.
that the Midrash isn't
It's not a monolithic thing.
Right.
It's full of all these different opinions,
a different interpretation.
different interpretations.
So we don't want to take this as like a judgment against Ishmael.
Right, exactly.
He's not excluded
No, not at all.
from God's plan.
Not at all.
It's more about
Yeah.
maybe highlighting a different path,
A different path.
a different way
Just connect to the
to,
divine.
to connect,
Yeah,
right?
it's not
a negative thing.
No, not necessarily.
It's just different.
Exactly.
So there are multiple ways
Multiple ways.
to approach spirituality.
Absolutely.
Multiple forms of connection.
That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So this whole discussion of Toldot has been so fascinating.
That'd be cool, right?
But I'm wondering,
Yeah.
is there any hope
That's a good question.
for that missing vav to be restored?
Well, that's where the idea of messianic hope comes in.
Okay.
So the Midrash actually envisions a future
Yeah,
where that complete Toldot,
with all the letters.
with all the letters, including all the vavs,
Yeah.
is restored.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it symbolizes
Okay.
this return to spiritual wholeness, a complete unity.
So powerful.
It really is a powerful image of ultimate redemption.
It is. It really makes you think about language in a whole new way,
It does.
that even the tiniest details
The smallest little things.
can have such profound meaning.
Yeah, like a single letter
Right.
can shift the whole meaning.
It's amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
So if a single word, a Hebrew word like Toldot,
yeah,
can hold so much significance,
so much depth.
just imagine
Yeah,
what other hidden depths we might discover
in our own lives.
by paying attention
Yeah.
to the details.
Of our stories, our traditions.
I mean, what seemingly insignificant elements in our lives
Right, what are we overlooking?
might be holding the key
Yeah, the key.
to a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world?
That's the question, isn't it?
That is the question.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
it is.
Jacob and Esau.
Oh, yeah, fascinating story.
So much symbolism, so many interpretations from it.
Absolutely.
And this time, we're going to focus on a really interesting phrase.
Okay.
The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau.
Wow, okay.
Really get you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts from a text that explores this,
All right.
and they link it to, get this, the nature of the Messiah,
Oh, wow.
and even redemption.
That's a lot to unpack.
It is, and we're going to unpack it all today.
That's good.
I think you'll find this one pretty fascinating.
I'm ready.
All right, so Jacob and Esau, these two, man, they're like the poster children for duality.
Oh, yeah, you could say that.
They represent these two fundamental aspects of our existence, spirit and matter.
You know, it's funny. You see that duality pop up everywhere. Like, it's this basic tension we all grapple with.
Absolutely, and it's right there in the text.
Yeah.
Jacob, he's described as this man of integrity.
Yeah.
Super connected to the spiritual side of things.
Very much so.
The text actually calls him a dweller in the tense of study,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means
Devoted to learning, reflection, prayer.
that's it. His whole life revolved around that inner world.
A real contrast to Esau.
Total opposite.
Out there in the world, a man of action.
That's Esau, yeah. The skilled hunter, totally at home in the physical world.
He was all about engaging with the material.
So we've got this tension between contemplation and action.
It's classic.
The inner world versus the outer world.
Right, and that takes us back to this voice and hands imagery.
Yeah, how does that fit in? It's a little cryptic, isn't it?
It is, but that's where the symbolism gets really powerful.
Okay, I'm listening.
Jewish scholars, they say the voice of Jacob is not just about talking.
Okay, so it's deeper than that.
Way deeper. It's about prayer, about studying the Torah.
Oh, I see.
It represents that spiritual influence.
The kind that flows from those practices.
Exactly. And then you have the hands of Esau,
Which is?
how we interact with the physical world.
Okay.
Taking action, making things happen, you know.
So building, creating, influencing.
All of that, that's the hands of Esau.
Two totally different ways of being in the world.
And that makes you wonder,
What's that?
which one is stronger?
Ooh, good question. Which one matters more?
It's a question that's been debated for ages.
I bet.
Like, think about the Vilna Gaon.
Refresh my memory.
He was a prominent Jewish scholar back in the 18th century.
Okay, right.
And he was adamant that these aren't competing forces.
They're not.
No. Each one has its own power, its own value.
Interesting.
Esau, he's all about physical strength.
But Jacob's strength.
That's in the spiritual realm.
So it's not about one being better?
No, not at all. It's about recognizing they're just different.
Wow, this is going way beyond sibling rivalry.
Oh, definitely.
Which reminds me, there's this concept in the text that I just have to ask about.
Okay, what's that?
It talks about the Messiah being concealed.
In
But get this, in the garments of Esau.
the garments of Esau. Now, that's an image.
Right. What's that all about?
Well, it suggests something pretty radical about the Messiah.
Okay.
That he won't just appear out of thin air.
Meaning?
That he'll come from within the material world.
Whoa.
Maybe even use material means to achieve spiritual goals.
So not rejecting the physical world,
No.
but transforming it.
Exactly. It's about infusing it with spiritual purpose.
That's a powerful idea.
It really is. And that concept, it's at the heart of what groups like Beit Yisrael International do.
Beit Yisrael International.
Yeah. They're all about spreading the light of Torah
Okay.
and revealing the Messiah.
Interesting. Tell me more.
They do this amazing thing. They produce a weekly parsha.
A weekly parsha?
It's a commentary on a portion of the Torah,
Oh, I see.
and they translate it into, get this, 70 languages.
Wow, 70. That's incredible.
They're really reaching out to the world.
They're not just talking about it.
Right.
They're putting those ideas into action.
They're using technology, doing global outreach.
So they're really living this hands of Esau idea.
100%. They're following the Gaddi Efrayim notes.
The what now?
The Gaddi Efrayim notes.
Hmm?
They were written by Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri,
And who was he?
a renowned Kabbalist. Really fascinating guy.
Okay, so what do these notes say?
They emphasize that it's not enough to just focus on spiritual stuff.
You have to get out there and do something.
Exactly. You have to be active in the world.
So bringing those two realms together?
Yes. The voice of Jacob and the hands of Esau in harmony.
Wow, so this whole deep dive has shown how these two things...
Oh, the spiritual and the material.
Yeah, they're not separate at all.
They're intertwined, two sides of the same coin.
And that brings up a question for all of you listening.
If the Messiah is supposed to come from the material world,
How do we play a part in that?
how do we contribute to the transformation?
How can we take action like Beit Yisrael International?
How can we use our lives to elevate the world around us?
That's something to think about.
It is.
The voice of Jacob,
Okay.
through the lens of gematria.
All right.
Now, a lot of,
They do.
our listeners are probably familiar with gematria, but just as a real quick refresher.
Sure.
Gematria is where you assign numerical values
Right.
to letters, and then you can kind of use that
Yeah.
to uncover deeper meanings in phrases and words and stuff like that.
Like a code.
Yeah, like a code.
A secret code.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And we're going to be using this
Yeah.
to kind of unlock a little bit more about this phrase, the voice of Jacob.
Awesome.
And I think it's going to lead us to some pretty interesting places.
I'm excited.
So to get started, I guess the first thing we need to look at is, what does this phrase actually mean? The voice of Jacob.
Well, right off the bat, it's really interesting because voice in the Jewish tradition isn't just about the sounds we make, you know?
Right.
It's so much deeper than that. It's about influence. It's about legacy, the impact that we have on the world around us.
Okay.
And then you combine that with Jacob, right? This incredible figure in our tradition.
Yeah.
A man who wrestled with God, faced so many challenges, overcame adversity time and time again.
He had a lot of struggles.
Oh, he did. And
Yeah.
yet he persevered,
Yeah.
you know?
He did.
He grew from those struggles and left an incredible mark on history.
So are we talking about how we, just like Jacob, we use our voices and our actions to overcome our challenge?
Exactly. And to leave a lasting impact on the world around us, just like he did.
I like that.
It's a powerful message.
It is powerful.
And that's where gematria comes in.
Okay, let's bring gematria into it.
All right. So in Hebrew, the voice of Jacob is Kol Yaakov.
Okay.
Now, Kol, which means voice, has a numerical value of 136. And Yaakov, Jacob, is 182.
182, all right.
Add those together.
Okay, what do you...
Yeah.
318.
318. A very significant number, wouldn't you say?
It does ring a bell, I think.
It should. Think back to the story of Abraham.
Abraham.
Remember when he went to war against those 4 kings?
Yeah, he had that big battle.
Those kings had massive armies, way bigger than him.
Right, he was totally outnumbered.
Totally. But guess what? He won. And you know how many men he had with him?
It's not coming to me, tell me.
318.
Wow, 318.
Exactly. 318 men, and he defeated 4 kings.
So this number, 318, it's about overcoming the odds.
You got it. It's about achieving victory even when everything seems stacked against you.
So when we look at this through the lens of the voice of Jacob, what are we saying? What are our own 318 men?
That's a fantastic question.
Like,
The Jewish sages, they see this connection between the voice of Jacob and 318
okay.
as a reminder that we all have that same potential for strength within us. We can overcome any challenge, just like Abraham did, just like Jacob did.
What are the tools?
The tools. Well, that's where the teachings of Beit Yisrael International and Gaddi Efrayim come in.
Okay, yeah.
They talk a lot about cultivating a balanced spiritual life,
Okay.
one that includes both prayer and Torah study.
Okay, so two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. 2 essential practices that work together.
Wow.
You see, prayer is like raising our voice to God,
Okay.
seeking guidance, asking for strength, connecting with something greater than ourselves.
So it's like ascending towards the divine,
You
right?
beautifully put, yes.
Yeah.
Ascending towards the divine.
Okay, and then Torah study would be the opposite.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Torah study is about allowing that divine wisdom to descend into us.
Okay.
Learning from the teachings, internalizing the lessons, letting that knowledge guide our actions.
So it's a two-way street.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
not just about talking to God, it's about listening to
Right.
and learning and growing through those teachings.
Okay, so Beit Yisrael International, they believe this is how we overcome challenges.
They believe it's even more than that.
Yeah.
It's about discovering our unique purpose in life, fulfilling our potential.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It is. It's about using both those tools, prayer and Torah study, to become the best versions of ourselves.
That's powerful stuff.
It is.
But how does this play out in everyday life? Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine you're faced with a difficult decision anyway.
Yeah. We all face those.
We do. So you can turn to prayer, ask for clarity, guidance.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you can open up the Torah, see what it has to say about similar situations.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe there's a story, a lesson that resonates with you.
So you're combining your personal connection with the wisdom of tradition.
Exactly. And by doing that, you gain a broader perspective.
I see.
You might even discover solutions you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
It's like having a map and a compass.
Yeah.
Both guiding you towards your destination.
I love that analogy. It perfectly captures the essence of what we're talking about.
So to kind of sum everything up, the voice of Jacob And this number 318 through Gematria reminds us that we have the power within to overcome pretty much anything life throws at us, right?
Absolutely. And we can amplify that power by connecting with the divine through both prayer and Torah study.
And that's what Beit Yisrael International and Gaddi Efrayim really emphasize.
Yes. It's about finding those practices, your personal 318 men.
Right, the tools that work for you.
Exactly. The tools that help you connect with something greater than yourself, that empower you to live a meaningful and impactful life.
Okay, so I think that's a good place to wrap up for today, but I
Yeah.
want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
All right, I like it.
What are your 318 men?
Good question.
What tools do you use to navigate those challenges we all face?
It's worth pondering.
Yeah. And how do you find your own voice in this world?
Deep stuff.
All right, thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye, heart.